Hi, everyone. We'll give people just one moment here to join in, and once we have some more people in here in just about a minute, we will get things started. Thank you. Looks like we got more coming in. We'll get things started in just a moment. Okay. Well, let's get it going. Hi, everyone, and good morning. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us today for our webinar, Financial Literacy 101. Today, we will discuss practical tools and strategies to help you organize your finances and build unstoppable momentum as we move into 2025. We do have the Q&A feature available, so you can submit questions through that option. And if there's time at the end of this session, those questions will get addressed. You can also submit any questions to us via email at mhoweth@yoursummit.com, and I will display that email address near the end of our session today. Now, I would like to introduce our panelists joining us for the discussion today. Matt Howeth is an account manager for Summit. Matt brings multiple years of experience across the financial services sector with a background that includes financial planning and wealth management among a number of respected institutions. Matt is committed to educating and supporting clients in making informed decisions about their financial future and is committed to guiding those he works with through their career and retirement journey. He is a graduate of Oklahoma State University, holding an MBA and a bachelor's in finance, along with an APMA designation and an Oklahoma insurance license. And now I will pass it off to Mr. Howeth to get us started.
Thank you, Matthew. I appreciate the intro. Good morning, everybody. Hope everyone's having a wonderful day and into the new December here in 2024. What we're going to be covering today is really, like I said, Financial Literacy 101. First and foremost, we're going to be looking at your financial goals. Specifically, they will be very based on your value, where you are in your life. Some common goals include having cash in hand for emergencies, protection for your family in case of a disaster, purchasing a home, saving for college for your children or grandchildren, planning a comfortable retirement, or saving for a vacation home or wedding. Because these goals change throughout your life, it's important to reevaluate these goals regularly to make sure you're on track. Think about your situation. I'm not going to ask you to share today, but do you have those goals in mind? Do some of these goals on this slide fit your current situation? And how do you make these goals a reality? Really, the reality is there's a lot to be taken into effect. Right now, being here today, you're taking an important step towards your financial freedom. Why? Because most people and families don't intentionally sit down and prepare for short-term or long-term financial goals. According to a 2022 report from the Federal Reserve, 3 in 10 adults, if faced with an unexpected expense of $400, would not be able to cover it or would cover it by selling something or borrowing money. Over 30% of adults are not able to fully pay their current month's bill if their income varied month to month. Less than 2/5 of non-retired adults think that their retirement savings are on track, and only 1/4 have no retirement savings or pension whatsoever. Another study shows that 32% of adults with life insurance say they would not be financially secure, and nearly half of those over 55 have not yet created a will. So just by being here today, you have a jump start on achieving your financial goals. Here at Cetera Investors, we believe there are 3 major building blocks for financial freedom. 1, cash savings. 2, asset accumulation. And 3, wealth transfer. We will talk about all 3 of these today, not just to help you become a more financially literate, but it will also help you find the intrinsic motivation to take this part of your life seriously so you can get on track to meet your goals and live the life you want. First block, cash savings. On the screen, you'll see a graph of the savings rate in the United States over the past 15, 16 years. This money is to be used for emergencies, for immediate and short-term needs. Ready cash reserve. Savings is the foundation of which you should be building your financial plan. Strong and dependable like a foundation of a house. Now, everyone has different circumstances, but I think we can all conclude that having savings will help us meet our financial goals. Generally speaking, having more in savings is the first step to your greater financial freedom. Another factor to take into effect is debt. I can't tell you how often I hear, should I be paying this off or should I be saving? Most of the time, we've been conditioned to avoid debt at all costs and getting out of debt as soon as possible. While that does work for many, what happens is that when you focus all your resources on debt, it forces you to ignore your potential savings, your emergency stash. What happens when an unexpected expense comes up and you have to stack it right on top of the existing debt since you have no savings to fall back on? That happens more than you'd like to admit to a lot of my clients that I deal with. With that in mind, most financial professionals will tell you the answer to the debt reduction versus investing dilemma comes down to this. If you have potential to earn higher after-tax return on your investments than after-tax interest rate cost on your debt, then you should consider investing. Basically, can you make more by investing than paying on that debt? That's what you should do. If you can't make more on an interest bearing account or off your investment, then you should pay off your balance. That's the long and short of it. This was a much higher issue back when mortgage rates were at sub 3%. Now that they're a little higher, people are having discussion more is that they should refocus on their mortgage versus what they can earn in the market. Once you have a budget in place and know how much you need to save, it's time to start considering the risk. Risk management is a crucial part of the sound financial strategy. We obviously can't avoid all risk, but we can take measures to manage it. There are many risks that come up that will affect your financial situation. One risk that investors need to plan for is market risk. This is managed by making sure you have a proper asset allocation and regularly making sure you are diversified, rebalancing, and have an emergency fund to ensure you're not taking on too much risk. Another risk we face day in and day out is inflation. This is all over the news. You cannot avoid inflation. If we're not continually outpacing inflation, we will be moving backwards. A dollar now is worth more than a dollar later. We could see this, for example, movie tickets. A movie ticket in 2000 was an average of $5.66. A movie ticket in 2021 was $9.57. That's almost double the price. We've seen this with cars. We see this with houses year over year. They get more and more expensive than they were years in past. Each one of you have probably experienced this. Some of those who've lived in another decade definitely have seen this happen. And of course, one of the major risks that we all fear is losing your income. While we hope it doesn't happen to you, we all know that families who have had a major loss of income due to job loss, disability, or death, during these emotional times, the last thing you want to be worried about is income loss. So as you can see, there are a lot of moving parts when it comes to budgeting and building cash savings. If there's one thing you want to remember about cash savings, it's the value of time. The best thing you can do is start now and continue that practice later in life. Moving on to the next building block is accumulation. Establishing a strategy to set aside the money on a regular basis in order to accumulate wealth. This money is used for goals that occur before retirement, such as starting a business, helping children with their education, buying a new home, buying a car, going on vacation. These are all things that you want to start setting money aside slowly. That way you can achieve that goal. Retirement savings is where we spend most of our time with my clients. The more and more companies are reducing pensions and retirement benefits to their employees, there are three things to consider when saving for retirement: time, money, and the rate of return. We'll start with time. I'm sure you can agree that time is something that you can never get enough of, nor you can get it back once it is gone. It is never too late or too early to start saving. Next is money. With this, we come and look at two different factors: past dollars, or what you've accumulated so far, and future dollars, what you plan to save, and what you need to get or stay on path to retirement you want. We want to keep these investments in places that encourage long-term growth as well as stability. Lastly, we must be aware that rates of return. Although a lot of rates of return are out of our control, we can take advantage of diversified strategies that will be designed to help mitigate the ups and downs of the market so you can stay with your strategy for the long term. It's very hard to not get emotional whenever you're investing. So sticking to a long-term strategy that you've set and stuck to is the best way to go about investing. Eventually, we enter what is referred to as the distribution phase or a payout phase, which is technically a way to say retirement. In retirement, you want to be able to write your own paychecks and live comfortably. Planning ahead now means that assets you have accumulated up to this point will remain allocated properly. Always take into account your tolerance for the risk. Now, what I'm going to talk about now is the all-powerful value of time. Everyone starts saving for retirement differently. Many people start with their investments that might be considered a large amount of money. Others might begin those working careers, and those who are not good savers might have to not have as much to invest and therefore start with smaller amounts. As you can see from this hypothetical chart, if an individual began investing $100 a month and did that for 15 years at a rate of 8%, they would have accumulated $33,978. However, for a longer period of time, say 30 years, at $100 a month would have grown to over $140,000. Now, this chart, it simply illustrates the potential growth for investing more money per month over similar periods of time. So as you can see, small changes now over many years have drastic impacts on the amount of money that you have the ability to accumulate. This is extremely important for those that are in their 20s, 30s, and even going into your 40s, is you still have ample amount of time to put money aside for retirement. Now, I should remind you here that this is an example, is hypothetical, and does not represent an investment in any particular fund or performance of any fund. The average return of 8% with no fluctuation as principal is here for illustration purposes only. The actual performance for most investments will fluctuate, and no particular return is ever guaranteed. Now, I do want to show this as a really great example of why you should start saving earlier in your life rather than later. Is that we have two exact individuals. They're going to save the same amount of money over a same amount of time period. You have Robin going to start saving at 22, and you have Chris who's going to start saving at 45. Now, the big difference here is that they're both saving for retirement, but do you think they're going to have the exact same amount in retirement? They will not. Since Robin started at 22 and she stopped at 42, it had the opportunity to grow for another 20 years, whereas Chris had immediately start taking his money as retirement hit right as he stopped putting the money in. Therefore, his account did not have that time value of money to be able to grow with compounding interest. So again, very important to start having these discussions with your kids, with yourself, if you're in your 20s and 30s, to make sure you put money away early, because that money will be put to work for you later in life. Now, another thing to think about with the asset accumulation is you've probably had a lot of different types of accounts thrown at you, what type of investment accounts you have access to. You may or may not know that some of these accounts are taxable, which means they are funded with after-tax contributions and tax-free withdrawals. Other accounts may result in a tax deduction when you contribute, and then withdrawals are taxable. The benefit of these different types of retirement accounts is that they will generate different types of income in retirement. When you retire, you will need income. The difference is that you will not have an employer sending you a paycheck. You will be sending yourself your own paycheck from your retirement accounts. That's what's important. And that's the biggest difference in retirement versus your working years. Retirement income will generally consist of a mix of Social Security, pensions, if you're lucky enough to have one, and retirement accounts such as a 401k or a 403b from your employer, or other savings like an IRA or an annuity, or if you own individual mutual funds. Those are just a few of the areas that you'll be able to pay yourself from. Now, to understand how asset accumulation can work with these different type of accounts, such as a traditional 401k versus a Roth, which is an after tax, I would like you to look at this illustration of how two individuals, each saving into each one of these type of accounts, can have vastly different outcomes. These same contributions are over the same time period in the same investments. They're both putting in a total of $72,000 over a 40-year time frame with $150 a month with an average return of 8%. As you can tell, for the pre-tax, they pay no tax on the contributions. They actually get a tax deducted up front, so they actually have lower income. But on the withdrawal, when they started taking money out in retirement, they ended up paying over $115,000 on those returns in taxes. Whereas the individual who was investing in a Roth, which is an after-tax account, they ended up paying over $15,000 in taxes over the lifetime of those contributions. The big difference there is they had no tax being on the balance whenever you hit retirement. So you can tell that when you're going to be planning your budget, you really need to understand if that tax deduction is what is needed for you right now, or if you could benefit from a tax-free later in life. Everyone's situation is different, and we are here to help you if you have any questions on that planning. Now, pensions and Social Security will make up a large portion of your retirement income, so it is vital that you understand the different beneficiary options, the impact of claiming too early or too late, or how to coordinate benefits with a spouse if you're married. Retirees will face the same risk as any other investor, including market risk, interest rate risk, health, and longevity. So longevity is basically you outliving the amount of money you have. That is becoming more and more common with medicine and the healthcare that we currently have in this environment. The key for retirees is to take the right amount of money from the right accounts with the right risks. Retirees need a mix of short-term investments, whereas they are focused on safety and liquidity, and long-term investments, which are more growth-oriented. A detailed portfolio will include income objectives, sources of money, age at retirement, and money needed initially. Now, Social Security is in the news. It's talking about it ending. I will say that it's going to continue to be a large source of income for most retirees. The slush fund is supposed to expire around 2034. What that means is there will be a deficit in the Social Security. It will continue to pay out benefits where it might be reduced. So take that into consideration in your planning. What this chart is showing is if you have a full retirement age, which most people, if you're over the age of 50, are going to have the 67 full retirement age. There are a few people who are still approaching retirement that are going to have the 66 and a half, 66 and 10 months. But this will tell you when you take your Social Security, what your payout will be. And if you take it early or if you delay it and take it late, that's what you're looking at this chart. So what have we learned about accumulation? Namely, it's important to start. Accumulating assets is much easier when you combine all three factors of time, money, and rate of return. Again, it's never too late to start. Remember that. And once you have accumulated wealth, it's time to move on to the last phase of financial freedom, wealth transfer. Even if you don't think you have enough assets to constitute wealth, you've worked hard and deserve to know that your assets are going to places and to people who want to receive them in the most efficient way possible. You're asking yourself, how do we do this? Well, there are three key tools to make this happen. One is a will. Everyone should have a will, which simply dictates where and to whom your assets will be transferred. This is also partnered with a trust. If you can Sit down with an attorney to draw up an official trust. This is even better than a will. Included will be a power of attorney. In the event that you are unable to make important financial decisions, a power of attorney will authorize someone else, someone of your choosing, to make those decisions for you. This could be a spouse, brother, trusted neighbor. It's whoever you decide. The third is a healthcare proxy. This will declare your medical wishes should you ever become incapacitated and need someone else to handle your healthcare. With the increased longevity in our environment in our country, healthcare proxies are becoming more and more relevant. And I would recommend most of my clients to have some sort of proxy in place to avoid any issues later in life if there's ever an accident. Now, I have to make it clear that I'm not an attorney and I cannot put these into effect for you, or give you legal or tax advice, but I can recommend a few attorneys for you if you would like, and then making the recommendations they can confirm with your attorney or accountant. And today we have covered the basics of financial literacy, including one of the most important of cash savings, asset accumulation, and wealth transfer. All of you will have different priorities, which each piece of the financial picture to work on and in certain times during your lives. Drawing up a budget can help you determine how to spend your money and compare it to how you would want to spend your money. Then you could thoroughly review your portfolios and determine the best point of your goals and time horizon. I want to thank you for your time, and I'm going to be passing this over to Matthew.
I'd like to thank Matt Howeth for the time and sharing this informative and valuable information with us today. And we'd also like to thank all of you for joining us today as well. If you have any questions or would like to be connected with a resource here at Summit, please email mhoweth@yoursummit.com, as we'd be happy to assist. And also, please be sure to follow us on social media to stay up to date on market trends, legislative updates, and tips and tricks to help you pursue your retirement goals. As always, thank you for joining us and letting us help you reach your summit. Thanks.